How much does a prayer weigh? Louise Ridden, a poorly dressed lady with a look of defeat on her face, walked into a grocery store. She approached the owner of the store in a most humble manner and asked if he would let her charge a few groceries. She softly explained that her husband was very ill and unable to work. They had 7 children and they needed food. John Longhouse, the grocer, scoffed at her and requested that she leave his store. Visualizing the family needs, she said, "Please, sir, I will bring you the money as soon as I can." John told her he could not give her credit, as she did not have a charge account at his store. Standing beside the counter was a customer who overheard the conversation between the two. The customer walked forward and told the grocer that he would stand good for whatever she needed for her family. The grocer said in a very reluctant voice, "Do you have a grocery list?" Louis replied, "Yes, sir." "Okay," he said. "Put your grocery list on the scale, and whatever your grocery list weighs, I will give you the amount of groceries." Louis hesitated a moment with a bowed head. Then she reached into her purse and took out the piece of paper and scribbled something on it. She then laid the piece of paper on the scale carefully with her head still bowed. The eyes of the grocer and the customer showed amazement when the scale went down and stayed down. The grocer, staring at the scales, turned to the customer and said begrudgingly, "I can't believe it." The customer smiled and the grocer started putting the groceries on the other side of the scales. The scale did not balance, so he continued to put more and more groceries on them until the scales would not hold no more. The grocer stood there in utter disgust. Finally, he grabbed the piece of paper on the scales and looked at it with greater amazement. It was not a grocery list. It was instead a prayer which said, "Dear Lord, you know my needs, and I am leaving this in your hands." The grocer gave her the groceries that he had gathered and stood in stunned silence. Louis thanked him and left the store. The customer handed a $50 bill to the grocer and said, "It was worth every penny of it." It was some time later that the grocer discovered that the scales were broken. Therefore, only God knows how much a prayer weighs.